Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I'm so excited for today's live chat because we're joined by an absolutely phenomenal woman who is redefining global pageantry and purpose. Please welcome the newly crowned Mrs. Supranational Queen, Lee-Ann Naidoo. Sorry, I meant Supranational Queen Ambassador Worldwide 2025, the powerful, passionate, and inspiring Lee-Ann Naidoo. How are you?
Good in you.
I'm great. Thanks, Senor. Self. Before I get down to the questions, congratulations are in order.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I never dreamed it's possible. At 45, I took an international stage and I made history because I'm the first Indian South African woman to ever bring home a queen's crown. This win is not only mine, it's
Mhm.
for every woman out there that was told she couldn't do it. And what I couldn't do in my 20s, I came back in my 40s and I took. So you know, I would always say, as long as there's breath and hope in you, you can achieve greatness.
Yeah, I think you might have answered some of my first question, but I think I'll just ask it again. What does it mean to you to hold the global title of Mrs. Supranational Queen Ambassador Worldwide 2025? Uh,
It's a sense of great pride, but also my life hasn't been
mhm.
easy. I have
Of course,
experienced
yeah.
divorce. I've experienced the
Mhm.
stigma of being a single mom. I fought hard for this. I understood what pageantry and the model or the business model was all about. It's all about a sponsorship game.
Mm.
And I also know that as an Indian woman, resources were limited, opportunities were limited, and I wanted to take it because I think in the history of pageantry, Karishni Naika in 1997 got Miss South Africa and she placed fourth on an international stage. I was aware that it was never done by India is huge in pageantry. They take titles on world stage. So there's nothing wrong with us in our heritage. But as a South African Indian, I needed to go out there and prove not only to my kids and myself, but to the entire Indian community that it's possible. Chase your dreams. There's no limitation. The limitation is in your mind. The meaning of this title is that I represent not only South Africa, but the Indian community on a global level. I have entered into the pageantry space being authentically true to myself, meaning no Botox, no fillers, no enhancements of any sort. It was very important for me to set the precedence and let everybody know that in a very plastic world, being real and being your authentic self is what takes a crown.
I see a comment here early on. Do you mind if I ask you the question from the comment?
Go ahead.
Sure. Okay. This is from Jitin Rishika. Congratulations, Lee-Ann, on being a supranational ambassador. My question is, will you promote tourism for South Africa?
Part of my title does hold the responsibility of promoting tourism, but tourism is one sector. I promote the Indian community, I promote on a global level. I don't know if you are aware that the pageant was hosted in Myanmar. Myanmar actually is in civil unrest with the government and the military actually fighting each other for control of the country. There is a lot that the Burmese people actually face in terms of the economy. I had a lunch and I paid 140,000 chip. So that gives you an indication of the economy in
Mm.
Myanmar. It's also to get the world to come to South Africa and to also experience the international beauty queens. I've made great relations with USA, with Singapore. I can go on and on and on. One of the the highlights of the pageant for me was I did take Mrs. Friendship and I did take Mrs. Personality. And I believe that actually makes me the best suited ambassador to represent not only South Africa, Myanmar, Mrs. Supranational, Mrs. Grand, but to also stand for every GBV victim, survivor. I am a product, or I did experience GBV in my life, and I came out stronger. 10 years ago, my jaw was fractured, and I went through a divorce. So I believe that today I stand for all those women that were told they can't do it, that they have no worth, that they've experienced what I've gone through. And if I can be that beacon of hope to tell them, your life is not over, it's just starting, you know, and people will love you regardless of what your life circumstances are.
Can you take us back to the moment you were announced as the Queen Ambassador? What was running through your mind?
Actually, I was medicated as I had an insect bite. Everything was so surreal. I heard my name being called. I didn't understand the magnitude of my title. I was very overwhelmed, but I knew that I did my best. To be very honest with you, it was only after I got off the stage and the other queens congratulating me and the organization, you know, celebrating my win. That's when it hit home. It was a case of, did I really do this? Did I really make myself so uncomfortable? You know, another thing is that I've always been a full-figured woman, and in South Africa, the beauty standards, you know, allow for that. I took myself from a size 36 to a size 24 in
Wow.
6 months to participate. I made myself so uncomfortable. I advocated, I shared room for the first time in my entire life with Mrs. Venezuela. Um, I went into a space I was not familiar with. So everything seemed so surreal. It didn't hit me. But also, I need to tell you, you all aware that you get butterflies in your belly competing at this level on that production stage. But nobody tells you that your knees just go like jelly. You know, you hit the stage and you just want to drop to your knees. So I'm grateful for my experience. It is still all surreal coming back home and enjoying the win, but I am so grateful. And I strongly, strongly believe that I wouldn't be in this position if it wasn't for every woman out there who took me in their prayers, who held me in their hearts, who knew my story and still pushed me further. I wanted to give up so many times. So I'm grateful because I took a crown in the hands of the collective. Other women, sister queens promoted me. And for that, I'll be eternally grateful.
As a global ambassador, what will your role involve, and how do you plan to represent women worldwide?
Well, my role is one of significance as I do have the capabilities, not only on a personal level, but with the crown behind me. You know, to not only represent globally, this is much bigger. You know, I do the sanitary pad drive where it's a dignity drive. I've been doing this for 2 years now. So on a global level, it's great. And I would accept any challenge with both hands. But my crown lies in the hands of my community first and foremost. It's to uplift at a provincial, national level before I can do it on an international, global level. It's about using the platform not only as a voice, but also to define the purpose of other women. I think the global ambassador is all the fun, extravagant, glitz and glam, and that's what pageantry is about. But the truth is, pageantry also speaks a story of community upliftment. It's about serving as a queen. It's about going to GBV, survivors and teaching how I baked for my survival. So It's to instill hope in other women more than representing on a global level. That's great. It's the excitement, the glitz. I get to travel the world and represent my country. But the truth is, I represent women first and foremost. I represent my community. And this crown only holds purpose in serving my community.
The title Ambassador Worldwide suggests a mission bigger than a crown. What message or movement are you hoping to lead?
I think, honestly, besides telling my story and sharing to the world how, I literally went from rags to riches overnight because I believed and my sponsors believed in me. So, to represent worldwide, I would honestly say my work lies in actually the women of our country, and only collectively, because as one queen, I can't change the world, but I can get an army of women behind me that advocate for my causes, that impact globally. And that would be my first point of contention, is to gather my queens and take it further.
What unique qualities or life experiences do you believe set you apart and helped you earn this prestigious title?
Being tenacious, I have tenacity beyond anyone's comprehension. I hear no and it doesn't register in me, and I aim high. My dreams scare me. You know, um, I want to tell the world that I did it based on being true to myself. I didn't have pretenses. There was no hidden agenda. It was a straight game. And if I can do it, I just am that beacon of hope to every other woman out there. You know what? Get on board, because you are able to achieve greatness.
All right. In your opinion, is the international pageant space evolving for married women? And how do you hope to influence that growth?
I honestly believe, as much as I am a product of pageantry, I did walk the stage for the first time at 42 after I had a baby. And this was to prove to myself. And I believe that women, with their roles of being nurturers and moms and businesswomen and trying to be there for their community, I honestly believe that the best time to enter into pageantry is as a missus. When you're already established in your career, when you're already established as a wife, a mother, when you are able, with your life experiences, to impact your community and the world around you. The space of Mrs. I strongly believe that the woman has grown, matured, learned, has life experience. And also, she comes back after life has knocked her down to walk the stage, to gain not only country respect, but I think any woman who's gone through divorce or abuse would understand how it gets imprinted in your brain that you're not good enough, you're not worthy. You just at a deficit, when the truth is, as a missus, you are able to impact and contribute so much more, having a sense of identity and being and knowing who you are. In all honesty, I have a 15-year-old daughter, and it's not, the space of pageantry is not something I would readily push her into. I tell her, in your 40s, if you want to go into this, go after it, but not in your 20s, because you have the whole world to travel. You have to find yourself. You're still very pliable by the world. It impacts you in different ways. And I think when you've grown into a woman and you've gone through your hard knocks in life, that's when you're able to impact. As a mother, you know what it's like when you are doing a feeding and you see a child. Most of the time I do charity and I'm in tears, and my kids say to me, "But mom, what's wrong with you?" And I was like, "No, you don't understand. It could have been me with the two of you sitting on the side of the street." So whatever and however I was able to move past this, I am a symbol of hope, and I am a symbol of resilience. The human spirit refused to give up, and I chased beyond my own comprehension.
What kind of community outreach or empowerment projects do you hope to champion during your reign?
Well, I am very, very passionate about the period poverty one because I am a mom of two girls, and the stats is almost 80% of women worldwide do not have the resources. It's the saddest thing for me that I can go to a government clinic and I see condoms that they are handing out for free, in their birth control. That's a choice. You choose to engage in sexual activity. As a young girl who is getting her menstrual cycle using cloth, using leaves, getting infections, the embarrassment also. She can't go to school and misses out literally on weeks of her education. And there needs to be systems in place for that. I also, something very close to my heart is the aged. I grew up in a family that feeding is part of our DNA, so I am a chef, I feed, but the things that are important to me are my period poverty drive. And also, this is already 2 years running. So now with the title, I can take it further. There is also Myanmar experienced the earthquake. And with the earthquake, there's a lot of villages that are destitute. Food is a problem. I would also like to advocate for them as well. There's a very, very strong similarity because it is third world that we are experiencing. So for me, I think the period pad drive or poverty drive, the aged is so important. I just sometimes just get coffee and go to the old age home and paint nails, have a conversation and paint their nails. And they have a wealth of knowledge that we just discard it. So the aged is something that I would love to show more love and appreciation to those women. Because honestly, I am only here because I came on the shoulders of giants. These women paved the way before me. And just because they are old doesn't mean they are obsolete. So those would be my main focusing drives in the year to come. And I welcome any other, for collaboration. The crown came to South Africa for a reason, and it's time we use it.
How do you handle the pressure and responsibility of being a global figure while staying grounded in your everyday life?
I believe that Lee-Ann, that you see in front of you, is that 13-year-old Lee-Ann with all those hopes and dreams. The global positioning is very new, it's all surreal. So coming home, I missed my kids, my husband, my family and friends. I will always be true to me. The crown only lasts a year. It's also my second crown and the second time, that I represented internationally. The first time I wasn't placed, but the second time it did come for a reason. I believe that being humble will take you to places beyond your imagination or even your possibility of growth. I was invited to walk in Paris, Milan Fashion Week and also be in the Cannes Film Festival. I never thought it was possible. But I know one thing. Lee-Ann will always be humble because Lee-Ann earned her own keep. Lee-Ann's success is because she worked for it. Her sisters took her further. But everything, I answered a question in my final for Mrs. Grand and what makes me successful. And I believe this is the secret to anyone's success is if you are consistent, religiously work on your dreams without being sidetracked. If you constantly gaining information and improving your skill, your trade, your understanding. And lastly, if you operate with the universal frequency of love and acceptance for people, that's when you're able to manifest everything you want to. But nothing comes just based on lackadaisical thinking and wishful dreams. It requires hard work and diligence. So if I can do it, anybody out there can do it. And that's what I want to show every little Indian girl out there. You know what? It's a sponsorship game. It doesn't have anything to do with who's the most beautiful woman on stage.
Okay, for women watching around the world, what's your biggest piece of advice on self-belief, leadership, or walking in purpose?
You know, I believe that you can only serve your community or the world around you when you are true to your passions and belief. You know, I started this as a chef, and I started just teaching GBV survivors how to bake for this, survival. They literally, I would take a smeg oven and go and teach them how to bake scones or muffins in 25 liters. So I really believe that in order to empower or impact, you need to be a leader who leads by example, preaching and telling you what to do. See my actions, let it move you so you are able to contribute to your environment. We just finished Mandela's Day, and it's minuscule acts of kindness. And people don't remember you by your wealth, your social status. Do you know what they remember? They remember how you made them feel. In my social comments, nobody tells me you're beautiful, or people tell me, I love your energy, I love your vibe, I love your kindness. Thank you for having an amazing heart. That impacts me as a woman. Because regardless of titles, I will face my maker one day and he would only look at my heart and see the legacy I left behind, not based on a crown or all the sashes I accumulate, but by the person I was, by the mother that I am, and how I can lead by example. I don't want lip service. Action is, as a queen, comes from service from both your hands.
All right, my final question to you is, and finally, what legacy would you like to leave as Mrs. Supranational Queen, Ambassador Worldwide 2025?
I want to be a queen that led with her heart. I want to be a queen that shows compassion and kindness. I want my legacy to be, it's to actually show hope, to actually embody the boldness, the character, and the fierce energy that I do have. I've been labeled my whole life. You extra, you this, you that, but it's okay. Embrace all that funky in you because it's what takes you to the next level. Be authentic to yourself. Live a life that's true, that when you put your head on the pillow, you know your identity. You know what makes you. The funny thing is coming home and driving with my husband, and I said to him, the amazing thing is you go around the world and you chase these big dreams, but the truth is all your happiness and joy lies in what's in front of you in your everyday life, your kids, your husband, your job, the community that uplifts you and your friends. Know that you are only a queen in service to the rest of the world. The crown didn't fall on your head, you earned it. And in earning it, you have a purpose to serve. And that is my lasting legacy, is how I can impact once the crown has left me. There are some queens that reign for a year, and there's some queens that reign for a lifetime. I want to be a queen that reigns for a lifetime.
All I got to say that thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to do this in a couple of months again when we see the progress of the crown.
I look
Have a
forward to
good
that.
one.
You too.
Bye-bye.